Hi, my name is Jeff Wilson. I'm a mixed digital media artist, and I wanted to share with you something today. I had a somewhat of a revelation yesterday after scratching my head for a couple of days, trying to figure out how to put together a collection that I'm starting today, actually, using Manifold for the first time, creating an open edition for the first time. And what occurred to me a couple of days ago was that the way that I've been approaching it was potentially a little flawed. Perhaps there are some nuances, some details that I hadn't really considered when I was envisioning this collection and how I wanted to use it. And once I started digging into Manifold, like I said, this is the first time I've ever used it. So once I started digging into it a couple of days ago, I started to realize some of the gaps in my thinking. Now I've been creating NFTs, fine art NFTs for the past year. In fact, I just dropped my first collection to OpenSea a year ago, back in March at South by Southwest. And for the past year, I've been dropping more and more pieces out there across a variety of platforms, OpenSea, Known Origin, Foundation, Rarible, and so on, just as some of the examples. And I've learned a lot along the way, but as we started to approach South by Southwest 23, which literally starts today, I decided I wanted to run a redo of what I had started a year ago, right? But in this particular case, I've been wanting to use Manifold for a long time, wanting to do an open edition for a little bit now, and so I decided that this would probably be a good opportunity to go and do that. One of the things that I realized when I started setting this thing up, however, was that I was thinking about this from the perspective of still driving people to OpenSea to go and purchase some of these items that I'm going to be creating over the course of the conference. And that didn't really jive with how Manifold works when it comes down to it, at least in terms of open edition. So there's a couple of key things that I realized that I think might be worth calling out. I spent probably about $100 in gas fees going through all of my little experiments. So I'm hoping that maybe this will be useful to you, save you $100. Maybe you can spend it on some fine art, if you will. So let me tell you a little bit what I was trying to accomplish here, and then I'll walk you through a couple of the things that I thought were particularly interesting. So first and foremost, I've been working with these various different platforms for quite a while now, but I've been using the platforms as they are, which are pretty easy. You know, if you've ever deployed an NFT on OpenSea or any of the others, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to think too much about it. Now, again, I'm a fine artist. I'm not these aren't developer-based. These don't have any particular utility associated with them. So some of the inner workings of how blockchain works, NFTs, and so on, it's not necessary if you're just deploying JPEGs when it comes down to it, right? So I've been thinking about driving people to OpenSea where they can see a collection of things, and over the course of the conference, I'll be adding more and more every day, and allowing people to see the full collection in a single place where they can go and they can open something up, and if they wanted to purchase something, they can do so straight from here. This is how most of the platforms work. It's very straightforward. Now with Manifold, though, Manifold allows you to create your own custom contracts. When it comes down to it, I've created a new one here for this latest collection, the South by Southwest Art the Masses, where I am going to be creating the individual NFTs, and when I put them in here, they will automatically show up in OpenSea and theoretically in other platforms as well, because it's just showing what's in my wallet. Now, there's a couple of things that I did not really fully think through. The first and foremost is I don't think that I ever actually really understood the difference between the different types of NFTs, right? So there's the ERC 721 versus ERC 1155. Those are two very distinct kinds of NFTs. For the most part, all of these that you see here are the 721 variety when it comes down to it, or I should say not here, but move this guy out of the way for a second and show you some of these. Most of these here are the 721 variety. So in this particular case, this is my Velvet Glitch collection. I actually deployed this one, created this one on known origin. And where are we? We're down in here. And you can see that I have, I think there's 10 of these different NFTs. Each of these is an addition of 10. In this particular case, because I generated this on known origin, it looks pretty easy to navigate, right? There's 10 different pictures. I click on one of those. You'll see that somewhere in here, it will show that there are 10 of them that are available. Yeah, here's an addition of 10 and so on. I can buy one if I wanted to. Unfortunately, with 721, ERC 721 NFTs, each NFT is unique. Each of the 10 in this edition is a unique NFT when it comes down to it. So when this shows up in other platforms like OpenSea, you can see it's showing all these individually. It's a little annoying because it takes up an awful lot of space. Now you can imagine what would happen if you had an open edition where you could have thousands. This would just completely fill up this entire space and it would be very difficult to navigate. With the 1155, they show up more like this. Here I have each of these at the top are editions of 23, and they only show up individually as a collection themselves. So when I open them up individually, you can see that there's 23 of them here. If somebody wants to buy one or more, right, you can come in here and you can select how many you want to collect and then make an offer or buy it and so on from there. And likewise, if this were to show up in other platforms, here's my Rareable, same thing, right? Because the NFT itself is unique, even though there are 23 of these. So in a sense, these are fungible of sorts. Each of these individual NFTs are exactly the same. So the difference between 721 and 1155 is that the 721 tokens are all individual. They all have their own IDs. They're separate from each other. In the case of an 1155 token, it is one ID, one token, but there are 25 of them, or in this case, 23 of them to be purchased and so on. So this is one thing that I hadn't really realized. It didn't really make too much of a difference in what I had planned, although it was a nice surprise to see that this could be very easily viewed in my collection. So let me just go over here and show you my collection for, and here I have a handful of these individual ones that are editions of 23, which is great. Now this one down here is a little bit different. This has to do with the open edition that I plan to deploy out here. I'm going to deploy a new one every single day based on what's happening in the day. So with the case of open edition, it is a little bit different in this particular case. So let me just jump over back to Manifold in here. Here is my contract for the South by Southwest, and there are the various tokens that are in this particular contract. And each of these are created individually, and I said that there were 23 of these individually. Now the key here is that each of these, when I went to go and deploy these, and before that I had sent these out, this would say mint on mainnet. I actually minted this piece, so I paid a little bit of gas fee for this, and it pushed it out, and it automatically shows up over in OpenSea, where I can go and manage from here. And here's where I actually list it for sale. And I've already done this in this particular case. But if I come back over into here, the difference between these that I set up and this other one here, this other one represents, and this is just an experiment to set up an open edition. So each of these are editions of 23. They're not open though. In this particular case, to get an open edition where you don't define a set number of them that you want to generate, what Manifold allows you to do is create these things called claims pages. And so I have that opened up over here. And what this effectively is a purchase screen where somebody can come in here. You can see that this is an open edition and you can say how many you want, and then mint however it is, whatever number you put in here. Now, the kicker on this is that when you first create this, even though I've added my artwork and I created this claims page, there hasn't been anything minted yet initially. And so what I've discovered, this was a bit of a surprise, nothing showed up over in OpenSea. So I have always been thinking about driving people to OpenSea where they could see all of the various things that they can choose from. And then they would select one and they'd be able to purchase. Now, OpenSea does not have a mechanism to purchase an open edition item. Maybe this will change in time. But if I were to open one of these up, in fact, I should open up the other one, open up one of these others that have a specific number that have been minted and show up here, and somebody can buy it. If nothing has been minted yet, nothing shows up here whatsoever. So it took me a little bit to Google around and figure out why something wasn't showing. I would have expected something would have shown there, but in hindsight, now it makes an awful lot of sense. Nothing's been minted, nothing's been come into my wallet, nothing from my wallet can come into OpenSea for people to be able to see. So what I did here to solve that was that you can see I have one minted. That's the one that you see over in here. In this case, what I did was, if you come back over into here, this is when I created that initial claims page. Sure why that isn't showing there. Let me just open that up again. Okay, so here's my claims page. This UI could use some love, I think, but ignore that. This is the settings for my claims page. And what I can do here is set various different rules, like what the address is for where the money goes when it's done. Here's where I specify that it's an unlimited supply. This is what makes it an open edition. For the other ones, I select limited, and I typed in here 23, right? But for my open edition ones, I want them to be unlimited. So any number of them can be generated. You can create the start and end dates, and there are videos on how to do this, and I won't walk you through it from here. But when I go to actually save this, this is what creates the claims page to begin with, and so on. And I can put in descriptions and other things like that. And here is the address that this has, the URL for this claims page. And I didn't want to have to send out a specific URL for all the different NFTs that I want to drive people to. I wanted to have one collection. That's the reason why I wanted to have people going to OpenSea, right? To be able to see all of them that they can get to where they need to from there. But what I ended up doing, if you come back over into here, you can also airdrop. So what I did was I have a separate like a wallet that I created. I dropped the address in here, and I basically airdropped one to myself. So I didn't have to go through and buy one of my own pieces. I just airdropped it to a specific wallet. And so I guess as I develop more of the daily pieces that I plan on doing, one of the steps that I'll have to go through is that I will come back over into here. I'll create a new claims page for this new piece, and then I'll airdrop one to myself, which ultimately mints this thing. So I'll have to pay a tiny bit in gas fees. But what that will do is that of the unlimited, the infinite number that could be generated, one of them will always be generated to begin with, and that will show up over in here. Now, what I'm thinking, I haven't done this part yet, is that I'll probably have to include in the description a link here back to my claims page. So I still only have to drive people to the OpenSea collection page, and they could see the ones. I'll probably title this Open Edition number whatever, and when somebody goes to click on this, if they like it, they'll be able to see in the description. I'll click here to go and purchase a new one, and that will drive them to here. And in this particular case, I have this ending just tomorrow, just for example purposes. But in my case, this unlimited supply is going to be time constrained, right? So I will set this for some end date in the future, or week or month. I'm still kind of noodling on that one. And what that will mean is that once people see this to begin with, they'll be able to come in here, There won't be a secondary market necessarily for each of these individual items because anybody can go straight to the claims page, get their own directly, and then, but once that claims page reaches its end date, this thing will shut down, and all of the various items that people have collected along the way will show up in here. And so if people want to put things on the secondary market, they're all still contained within this collection. So that would be fairly helpful. So at any rate, that's what I wanted to share. There's the two kind of insights, just in quick summary here is, first and foremost, if you have been deploying pictures, fine art NFTs, and not thinking about the types of NFTs, there are the two particular types. Most of what you get by going through any of these platforms are the 721 variety. But if you go into Manifold, you want to set up an open edition, you'll be wanting to set it up as an 1155 type. And not only will you get the open edition out of that, but you'll also have the ability of being able to create these nice little compact collections within your other platforms, as it were. The second thing, of course, being the fact that if you create an open edition before anything's been minted, they won't show up in any other platform. If you wanted to be able to have several different items that people can choose from, and you want to link back to the claims pages, this is a great place to be able to do that because you have the full collection and so on, where people can see the variety of things that you have available. And then you probably have to include some form of link back to that claims page from within here. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully you'll be able to save yourself $100 in gas fees. And hopefully you'll be able to spend that a little bit more on some fine art. That would be great for either myself or any other of the million artists that are out there trying to make it. So appreciate your time. I'm going to be collecting my stuff together and heading down to South by shortly. If you happen to be in Austin, I hope to see you there. And anyways, good luck to you. Thanks.